ISIS has released shocking new images of prisoners kept in cages in a terror training camp for children. This comes as a top U.S. spy chief warns there are now blind spots in tracking terrorists. We're back with Republican Congressman Peter King of New York. He's a key member of the House Homeland Security and Intelligence Committees. What's ISIS's objective in releasing this kind of video, Congressman?
Well, I think this is part of the overall attempt to, again, instill fear. I think it's also to try to scare off the Kurds, which I think is a mistake. I think the Kurds will react extremely violently if anything happens to any of those men in the cages. I think it's to convince people in the region that they're going to win, that they're in charge, that they have the upper hand, and that they can't be stopped, and to get more people to line up on their side. Those who want to be with the winner and are afraid of what's going to happen if they don't end up supporting ISIS.
And this video of them really featuring a sniper, featuring children, is it simply propaganda? Do they think this really generates support, brings in new recruits?
Well, so far they've been successful. We keep saying that when they show, people being burned to death or being beheaded, it's going to turn off people in the region. But it must be working for them is, again, the type of person that they're trying to recruit, the type of person they're trying to attract. They must feel there's enough of them out there, and I guess it's working for them because everything you read is how their numbers are increasing and people are rallying to them, which is a very, very troubling sign that, even under Hitler, the Nazis didn't disclose what they were doing to the Jews in the concentration camps. They tried to keep it a secret. And even after the war, they were trying to destroy, or near the end of the war, destroy records of what they had done. But here, in this case, you have ISIS actually bragging about it, showing the world how horrible and brutal and inhumane they are. So this is a whole different breed of enemy, a whole different type, and apparently it must be working for them, at least from their weird, warped perspective.
Yeah, and we just heard the head of the National Security Agency tell our own Jim Sciutto that there are, in his words, blind spots in the U.S. ability to track these terrorists. What are the biggest vulnerabilities out there? What concerns you the most?
Well, I can't go into it, but I know from being on the Intelligence Committee, there are blind spots. This is because of Snowden. And for those Americans, including some in the Congress, who thought that Snowden was some kind of a hero, this is one of the inevitable byproducts and inevitable results of what he did. The enemy has tracked what he made public, and they've been able now to change their method of communication, which is why I say he was a traitor to the country, and it's going to cost lives. And the fact that there are blind spots, and not just with ISIS, but with other terrorist organizations who have adapted based on what they learned from Snowden, and it does put more people at risk.
That American humanitarian aid worker who was killed in Syria, Kayla Mueller, her family says the swap for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl in exchange for 5 Taliban prisoners at Guantanamo Bay at the prison there actually made the situation worse for their daughter. You think those comments are fair?
No, I mean, I was obviously opposed to the deal for Sergeant Bergdahl, but again, I don't know enough of the details. And listen, I understand why a family would say that. I can't imagine what it must be like to be in that situation, but I don't want to be second-guessing the president as far as this. Again, I was opposed to the deal, but that whole arrangement. But as far as this effect coming from it, I'm not going to make that connection. Whatever policy difference I would have with the president is a matter of policy. I don't think, based on what I know, that he would have anticipated that, this happening to that poor woman.
I'll ask you a question that have been asked other Republicans who are thinking of running for the Republican presidential nomination, and I know you're thinking of running yourself. You visited New Hampshire a few times already. What did you think of the former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani's suggestion, his blunt statement, that the President of the United States does not love America?
Yeah, Rudy Giuliani's a friend of mine. I would not have said it the way he said it. But with Rudy, and I've discussed this with Rudy, I was actually with him earlier that evening. He made the statement. He is so frustrated and angered at what he sees as a policy which is hurting the U.S. and the president's lack of intensity when he describes it. The point he was trying to make, I believe, is that the president seems reluctant to show the type of emotion that other presidents have shown, and that type of actual dedication. Now, I believe the president does want to get the job done, but he does show, to me, a lack of intensity. He almost discusses these things in an academic way, and I find that it's certainly disturbing. But I would not have said what Rudy said. But again, where he was coming from, I know what he was trying to say, because he is very, very concerned that the president's lack of really emotion, his failure to show emotion, and his somehow this desire the president has to show a certain equivalency. Rudy, after what he saw in 9/11, he finds this very disturbing. And again, I would not have used that terminology, but I understand where Rudy is coming from. And he's, again, as far as I'm concerned, an outstanding American.
Well, give me a yes or no. Do you believe the president loves America?
I think he does, but he's a different level of intensity than I'd say that I would, or Rudy would, or others. But does he love the country? Sure, he's the president of the United States.
And so it was a blunder on his part, Giuliani, to make an assertion like that. Do you believe that?
No, I wouldn't say it's a blunder. I'd say Rudy expressed it in a way that I wouldn't have said it. But on the other hand, I know what Rudy was trying to say, and I have too much respect for Rudy to say that it was a blunder. I would just say I would have said it differently.
Should he apologize to the president?
No, I think Rudy has explained what he meant, and I think that's enough. And again, when I think of all the things that were said about George Bush and how Bush lied and people died and somehow President Bush didn't care, or even President Obama himself, or Senator Obama then back in 2008, when he said that President Bush was unpatriotic. No, listen, again, Rudy has said it. He's explained what he said, what he meant. I thought today's op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, he laid it out pretty well. And I hope maybe we can use this as a kickoff to a debate as to what has to be done and why the president should show more intensity and more emotion.
We'll have more on the story coming up later. Congressman, as usual, thanks very much for joining us.
Well, thank you.